All right, welcome in Cincinnati Soccer Talk. I am your host, Jeremy Lance. Jason Ashcraft joining us tonight along with Cliff. Not the one we wanted as FC Cincinnati fall again, a second 1-0 defeat in this early bit of the season. They now are on what we would like to call a losing streak. They will play two matches this upcoming week. They will play a first leg match at home on Thursday in the CCC versus Tigres. And then they will play New England Revolution on the road on Sunday. So a busy week ahead. We will, of course, preview all of that. But obviously, we got a lot to talk about from that match that was one that, honestly, if we were going into it, I think a lot of us, I had my buddy at work was like, are they going to win this weekend? I was like,
I had $30 on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Toronto's terrible. They should.
I thought it was in the bank. It was easy.
Money in the bank. It was not. That money is now belongs to the house there. That's you lost that one. So we will have to break down a lot that happened again, because I feel like we're looking at some similar trend lines early on in the season as we have back-to-back losses that had some very similar characteristics to it. Mm-hmm. But before we do all of that, it is time to do our What's Hot, What's Cold, brought to you by Apollo Home. Cliff, start us off. What is hot?
Wow. I think the social media waves about this team right now. It was lit up. Like I normally go into my morning thoughts and I have to divine a lot of content. I did not, and it's a lot of echo chamber. We all feel a lot about this game, so that was the hot for me, is the social media waves.
I'm with Cliff.
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, if FC Cincinnati Twitter is anything, it is hyper reactionary, and what fan base online isn't. But right. When that's the chambers that you do operate in,
it would be a good contest between our social media and Orlando's. They are fired up. Yeah,
there's some skies falling going on over there as well.
They should have paid Pedro. Yeah,
there's some real sky falling over on Philly Twitter as well. We have it bad, but they've had it worse, infinitely worse, this starting out the season.
Well, and it's an added bonus that the FC Cincinnati Twitterverse also, morphs into the Bengals Twitterverse and the Reds Twitterverse and UC Sports Twitterverse, and those aren't going so hot either.
There's so much pain to go around.
There is. It's great. Welcome to Cincinnati. All right, Cliff, what's cold for you?
The good news, I think, is the temperatures are still cold. I think the season is still warming up, and I think I'm going to go with that. It might be an excuse more than a reason, but I still think the engine on the team is cold. I think we all wanted very much for the preseason with the team all together. We kept saying that and echoing that, hey, they're together for a full preseason, and that's going to produce a good, out of the gate start. I think the reality still stands, is that the engine is still cold. Also, very cold is the full Dippin' Dots bar on the south end at TQL Stadium. It's no longer kiosk. They've opened up like the Millennium Falcon of Dippin' Dots vending, and that was pretty cool too, literally.
Nice.
So they've really expanded themselves there.
They have.
Dippin' Dots.
So we can all go get fat on sugar. It's good.
Yeah, I haven't had it because I haven't been to one of the few matches this season. I've not been to any of them, so I haven't been able to check out any of the new TQL offerings or expansions in the case of our friends at Dippin' Dots.
Unless it's exactly 71 degrees, my wife doesn't come. So if you want, you can call me and you can come and hang in 228 with me.
Well,
it's an experience that I have trademark experiences there. So
I feel like the weather is trending towards her showing up here a lot more, hopefully soon. Jason, what's hot for you?
I'm going to take a journey, if you will, back down to the lower leagues where FC Cincinnati got their start. On Friday, I got my Lexington SC hat
I was
on.
gonna say you took a physical journey.
I took a physical journey, met my brother for the Commonwealth Cup down in Lexington to see Lou City, Lexington SC in the opening of the USL Championship. My brother lives in Louisville and he's a Lou City fan, so we had to sit with the Lou City fans, which that part kind of stank. But
I mean, I guess as Cincinnati fans, we are decidedly Lexington in that skirmish.
I'm going to adopt them as my club, but Lou City won, so they are 3-0 in games in which I attend.
Okay, so stop doing that.
But one of the things I really liked, it's a nice little setup down there, and so if you get a chance, go down and check out a game. For 45 seconds to start the match, there was a silent protest by the USL players, and they just kind of stood there. If you haven't been following the labor dispute within USL, it was kind of cool to see everybody like chanting, "We support the players." So yeah, I mean, we were kind of worried the game wouldn't happen, but it did happen. So
there was supposed to be like they were going to go on strike or get locked out, and then it got called off, right?
So yes, what I have read, and this might have changed, is that for the first 2 weeks, there's going to be some sort of protest. And then after 2 weeks, there might be a strike. I think everybody wanted to get the games started. Yeah. So, but it was a lot of fun. And it's always nice when more soccer is going on in the country. It gives me more ways to waste my time. So that's always great.
And you're cold?
Staying with the USL. It's the USL ownership and management. I'm not going to belabor the point. I'm pro players on this. They're not asking for much. Slight raise, health insurance, those sorts of things should be mandatory. And if you haven't looked into the USL setup, there's a lot of people who try to make MLS out to be this big, bad, evil empire. Some people call it a pyramid scheme and a Ponzi scheme. I think that label really needs to be put on USL. And they are out here saying, oh, we're going to start a Division 1. Oh, we're going to have Pro Rel. And they can't even pay their players a fair wage and give them health care. So
but that's the magic bullet to get everybody paid, right? Is Pro Rel.
Absolutely.
Yeah, is that what they're thinking?
No, they're just... I think they're doing it, look at rattling keys in front of people. It's all really probably a real estate play, if we're being honest. But yeah, Josh on the back end showing a clip of the protest for Brooklyn FC there. Yeah, 60 minutes of silent protest. So here, hats off to the USL players. I hope they're going to get everything they're asking for.
Love the coverage. I think the best thing about USL is I think it teaches the lesson, the world is big enough for all the soccer we want. And I really love that because we had the USL team, MLS, and then you have the FCC2. You have all these different layers and levels, and you think, well, how can all that be supported? And the answer is it can't be. There's plenty of people who want to go out and see soccer, particularly if they can't afford MLS, which happens, believe me.
Yeah, and soccer is all about that local community, and whether your team is in the USL like we once were, or in either the lower leagues, even beyond that, or if it's MLS, if that's your club, if that's your local community. That's be able to build that and just kind of have your own thing. And when the focus is in on that local community, you can have it anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and we are honestly, we exist as the dream, as the team that was the USL that went to the MLS, and that David Goliath is possible in those ranks. And plus, you get to go see a lot of cool places. When we went and watched Indy 11 a few years back when Manu was playing for them. Unfortunately, he was injured. He had a quad injury.
Yeah,
but it's a schoolyard. It's bleachers. It's the old stand-up kiosk, hot dog and burger vendors. It's really cool.
Yeah,
to be able to see all that.
Let's go on to I'll throw in my hot and cold here, and if you're watching live, go ahead and throw yours in the comments. We'll try to include yours here in the program. My hot was Pat Noonan's frustration. Pat Noonan's his level. He was riding hot after the match. if you watched it, if you blinked, you would have missed it. His post-match press conference. You can go look on YouTube. It's there in its entirety, 2 minutes and 17 seconds.
Wow.
He pretty much kept all answers to about one sentence, maybe two. And in a few cases, just a couple words. And he was pretty done with the situation, and it was ended abruptly, pretty much 2 minutes into the press conference. So that is my hot. What's cold, what has gone cold, is the case of the missing Miazga. I was under the impression, based off of social media posts of training, that Miazga was back in training, because I had eyeballs and looked at the videos and photos that the club put out that showed Miazga in training. And yet, once again, he was not in the 18. So that quest, that saga of Miazga's return to the 18 continues. That's my what's the whole.
I think you're right on there. I think you're right on there, because the one thing I got off social media is that who's the leader on the team? I mean, it's really bothering me that they're not announcing a captain at the games. It's really bothering me, because it's almost emblematic of what we're missing. Did the players just decide there's no captain? We're not going to announce one. But
or is Miazga still the captain, and therefore, since he's not in the 18, no one's the captain?
Right. And honestly, Mr. Jersey is not going to put up with that. There's going to be a leader when Matt Miazga comes back, and I think it's going to be him. If somebody else doesn't speak up, so I'm really looking forward to that too. And I'm as perplexed as you. Everything I read, I at least thought he'd be on the bench. So that was confusing.
Well, he was starting for FC Cincinnati too, at Philadelphia.
Right.
So that also surprised me.
Got a card, right?
Yeah, got a card.
Is that what he ended up doing?
I don't want to play with these kids.
Match? Okay. All right, that makes me feel a little better that he's at least actually like playing matches. So that now means that the excuse or the reason is no longer health. He was healthy enough to play minutes with the 2 team.
Right.
So the only thing holding him from the first team at this point has to be something outside of health going forward. So if that continues, some of the rumors, some of the questions that stem from even back in the playoffs start to pick up a little bit of steam. Let's go to Jay Yates real quickly. Put his out. His hot Celentano is playing pretty well. Question. Yeah, no, he definitely. Yeah. Celentano is playing very well, and one of the few players with some consistency in his play. And I think he's once again kind of proving himself to be one of those top keepers in the league. He just needs to have the rest of the guys around him do a little bit more, and obviously he's working with a back line that, as we just said, is missing its captain. The cold, pretty much everything else. No connectivity, no urgency, too many back passes. Feel a little like Yap Stam is back. Holy cow. We're doing that, huh? We're going there.
We haven't been properly introduced.
Remember what you said about, people being in their feelings and stuff like that, and
is that social media. Right,
yeah. I don't know if I'd go that far, but I understand the feeling, Jay. I get the feeling.
All right, that was your What's Hot, What's Cold, brought to you by our good friends at Apollo Home. And then it's hot and cold, brought out to you by Apollo Home. For a limited time, take advantage of Apollo's spring deal, a new AC unit for as low as $99 a month. Stay cold when it's hot. Stay hot when it's cold. It was in the 70s today with Apollo Home. Let's get to it. Our breakdown of the match. Your final score, FC Cincinnati 0, Toronto FC. 1. Your lineup for the orange and blue: Celentano in goal, Hagelin, Robinson, Flores as your back 3, Echenique, Ramirez as your wing backs, a midfield of Pavel Buka, Dados Valenzuela, and making his first MLS start of the season, Obi Nwobodu, and then Denke, and it was Tom Barlow up top, getting his first start in MLS this season as well. Just based on the lineup, initial thoughts. Obviously, the first thing that comes out is the fact that we're once again dealing with Evander coming back from his whatever that was, his tweak, his minor injury, his whatever twinge that he had there that made him leave that match a couple weeks ago. Puts Dotto in the position again to kind of lead that midfield and lead. He did? Question mark.
I don't think Dotto, newsflash to nobody. I don't think Dotto's really cut out to be the guy you need to run the offense. I think from what we saw last year, he does so much better when he is there in a supporting role, and he is able to, he can get open. And if you look at the goals he scored last year, was a lot of him just kind of moving off the ball, which is something that the team apparently doesn't realize they can do when he starts at the 10 or when FC Cincinnati plays in general. So yeah, I think Dotto, he's a decent enough player, but he is not going to cover himself in glory trying to be the 10 and running the offense.
Yeah, and that whole needing to create and obviously filling the shoes of Evander, someone who can make something out of nothing, somebody who can be not only creative in making something for himself, but also creative in setting up others and kind of just keeping the whole flow of play going. And I think flow is the big issue. If we look at one of the main issues in this match, it was that midfield was just a disaster.
Yeah.
And you kind of can throw the blame around to everybody. Buka had his moments where he was contributing. He had probably one of the better chances on goal. But he was also part, as FC Biddlinger puts out there, too many terrible passes direct to the other team. The sloppiness. The sloppiness. On the Lord's Day of all days. The sloppiness. A blasphemous amount of sloppy passes to be doing on that night.
But it's really a case, Lance. I mean, it's really a case of how, like, the profile of the 6, the defensive mid, it completely changes what the 8 does, which is what Buka is. And in Noonan's system, Buka is the engine. Like, Kubo was going to be the jersey I get. Buka's probably in line for that now, although this was purchased for me. I rarely purchase my own clothes. But Buka is the engine, but his role is reactive to who is sitting next to him. And I think we're asking an awful lot. He spent most of the season last season with Anunga. So, and their partnership was more of a safety first partnership. And then we had Gidi come in, and that's a high energy wild card system.
Sure.
And now we switched that out again for Buka Nwobodu. And, that's kind of an elite balance, but you get the sense that, every time I show up and sit down and keep my eyes on Buka, we're asking a lot of him when we continue to switch out who his neighbors are. And then you add to that Valenzuela versus Evander, who does he pass to?
Yeah.
And it was really evident on the goal, because I sit up in the south end, and when Celentano threw that ball out to Denke, we all knew it was a goal immediately, because we saw a hallway, like it was like an airfield of a runway back to the goal through the defense. And we all had the same thought: if they turn the ball around, who's gonna go to it? And that's exactly what happened. Nobody did, and so they slotted that ball through Hagelin, and then it became a goal. But I really think you're asking a lot of Buka to try to manage game time, relationships that switch so often. We saw him succeed last year with Anunga consistently, and we saw that fall apart when Gidi came on. And I still point to that as a big reason why we didn't do better in 2025.
But Cliff, he's played with Obi several years though. Like and I agree with you. I think a lot of what FC Cincinnati does, if Buka's got an off night, it messes up the whole night. And he was, I think, for the most part, played a decent game. But you'd think the fact that he's played with Obi now for what, 3 seasons, I mean, he's played with him before, that would have been a nice pairing. And I thought
Right.
Obi played okay. He did his job to a certain extent. What really struck out to me is if you dive into the stats of FC Cincinnati, like comparing to Toronto, stats wise, we are slightly better.
Mhm.
But if you watch the game, it's one of those games where like the stats aren't telling you the real story. It's the vibes were off. The crispness of the passes were off. Guys were not moving into space, which I'm gonna rant for that later. But like I thought Buka just really had no support whatsoever.
Yeah.
And in several instances, he was the only guy actually trying to get something going.
Well, can I ask you a question? Do you think Obi is still Obi, like the Obi that he was when he came with us? Because I remember when he came on the field, I was afraid for the other team. Especially when it was him and Kubo. I called them the ankle breakers because somebody was going to get hurt. And I don't know if he's tentative. That's the thing. We can't peel back the onion. We can't really see. Is everything 100%? Is he running 100%? Is he still the same dog? But I ask you, observing him, do you think he's the same Wobodo we had years ago?
Are you saying maybe has he lost a step?
I don't know if he's still recovering or he's lost a step or he's just not, or he's feeling out his position, getting back into it after having not served through the Anunga Gidi experiments.
Yep.
That's my thought. And maybe he is coming back in. Personally, I sat down, I put $10 on him to score a goal, primarily because it was going to pay $220. But I thought he'd have a chip on his shoulder. I thought he would have a chip on his shoulder, having kind of been semi-demoted. And I thought he'd come out and take this opportunity. But you tell me if I'm wondering if you think he's as aggressive as he was when he first came on with us.
That's a great question. When he first was here and that first full season after he arrived, he was a yellow card machine.
Yeah,
right.
He was too aggressive.
Yeah. And I wonder if maybe he's overcorrected in a sense. But Cliff, I think you're on to something because, I mean, last year he was hurt for most of the year. So I'm going to leave that aside. And granted, we don't have a lot of data for this year, but I was kind of surprised he really didn't take someone's legs out from under them. So maybe he is a little bit less aggressive. And, I don't know if that's age or coming back from injury, not want to re-injure himself.
I would have liked to have seen a card from Wobodo. Honestly, with Ismail Pekmek, that Timu ref on the field, I would have loved that. I did not enjoy the ref. I rarely, if ever, point at the ref.
The officiating definitely had its moments Sunday night, and really to the detriment of both sides. There's obviously most Cincinnati fans are going to point to a couple of moments there where a free kick definitely should have been given. There was also the moment late on where clearly either the keeper or the defender played the ball out of touch. Should have been a corner, was given as a goal kick, so a chance gone for FC Cincinnati to possibly equalize late. But then even for Toronto, they have a player go down, has to come out. I think it was Raheem Edwards had to come out, and the fourth official couldn't get the guy's attention to let the guy back on the field. So they had to go kind of this extra series of plays. There's this whole other passage of play because the ref hadn't noticed that the fourth official was trying to get the injured player back on.
I think I have the ref right, Ismail Pekmek. He is not positively regarded on the social waves, but yeah.
Is there a pro ref working MLS games on a regular basis at the center position that is highly regarded?
Highly regarded. That's a good question. But I was just I was just as frustrated as Ender when Ender kicked the ball. And it's one of the times where you would point to the player and say, hey, don't lose your cool. But I was like, yes, kick the ball, because it was such a frustrating call. It was a frustrating night. Denke was up in the ref's face several times. So I think a lot of it contributed to sort of the mental deficiencies we had. I'll tell you what, when I was watching Noonan in that press conference, I got the notion that he wanted to yell at someone. He knew who he wanted to yell at, and he didn't want to lose the content that he was going to go yell at someone with. And I just don't know who that was. It may have been the whole team, but it could have also been Pecknick, because it was a frustrating game to watch, as I'm sure you understand.
Yeah. You mentioned the whole press conference there where, we talked about it. It lasted 2 minutes and 17 seconds. Noonan was frustrated. I know Twillman had pointed this out, and Twillman and Pat are boys. They both come from the same part of St. Louis and everything. That Noonan, he was pissed off, and he talked about this disconnect, but like, what was it?
Oh my gosh. I want to get into this, because this is the thing that
have it.
I've done multiple rants on this, so I'm repeating myself. So I'm going to do it in this medium. So here's the thing. Twellman was talking about this in the game, that FC Cincinnati was not being creative. They weren't moving into space. They weren't stringing passes together.
Fact.
And that Noonan seemed really upset about that, right? And if you watch Toronto's not a good team, but they're out there stringing passes together, looking good. Minnesota, same thing last week. If we go back, and this isn't even just a last year problem, this is like going back to even when Lucho was here, there would be times where it was just let Lucho do everything and everybody stand around and wait for it. If Noonan is telling the team, we need to be more creative, we need to move into space better, we need to make better runs, we need to try to force it, like go through the middle. If he's doing that, if he's telling them that and they're not executing, where is the disconnect? Because I watched, like I mentioned, Toronto. I watched RSL this weekend with a team made up of nothing but academy kids and MLS journeymen who, because their entire roster is on the injured list, go down to Atlanta and string together passes and look like a cohesive unit. And this is something that we've dealt with not just in 2025, but in 2024. And I would even argue after Brenner left in part of 2023, this was a problem. And we've had multiple years of Pat saying, they didn't do this, they didn't do that, it's on me. What are you doing wrong? Like, are the players just not understanding you? Or are you giving them a game plan and then also contradicting yourself? Because that's where I am, is what are you telling them and what are they not doing? I would love for Laurel to ask, what's the disconnect? Because we don't really get that follow-up question.
Well, and I think what you're kind of alluding to is if whatever you're preaching is not being conveyed and figured out by the team consistently over a year in and year out basis, then maybe you're not communicating well. Maybe your communication isn't working, or this is just a way of explaining away your plan not working.
Maybe.
I mean, yeah, it could be a lot of things. It's, but I definitely get what you're saying, and I think, and this kind of goes back to one of the issues that you now see. We talked about the flames of Twitter over the past 24 hours, and it's happened before, and it'll happen again, and it's something that has persisted always with this fan base. But obviously, anytime there's a match like this, it gets a little louder. Is Pat still the guy?
I have to say,
and
yes.
I feel like that's.
I have to say yes. I think I in the year-to-year comparison, I'm struggling with. I had someone say this is the same team as last year and the year before. No, it's not. It is not the same team. I can name 6-7 players we've lost: Engel, Kubo, Orgiano, we've switched out a lot of players, and we switched out the offensive quote coach. So I really think two things can be true. This particular team in this particular moment at this time is not functioning optimally. And they can be compared to the past year's teams and in terms of the same outcome and the same start. But I really struggle with that year-to-year comparison. And then because that causes you to then say it's the Noonan system. But I'm not ascribing to that.
Cliff, I got to disagree with you there because those players you mentioned, other than Lucas Engel, the other two weren't really big contributors. And the Noonan system is what we saw like with Ender in this match. It is bomb it up to one of our wingbacks and hope they can get it forward. Mm-hmm. There's never anything going through the middle. There's never, and it's usually just one wingback. If you look at the year that we won the Supporters Shield, we had two of them. We had Arias and we had Barreal, one of whom was very creative on the dribble. The other who had played in La Liga as a wingback. So it's always bombing up the wings, hope something happens. And it's been that way now since 2023. And I think other teams have figured that out. It's kind of like, with a quarterback like Joe Burrow, right? If the guy can't move out of the pocket, just pressure the offensive line all the time. Right. So teams know, okay, they're going to bomb it up the middle. So now all we have to do, let him get the ball maybe, but then triple team Kevin Denke. Don't let anybody, because no one else is going to try to move or do anything creative. And I think it's the system because he's always trying to rely on these wingbacks and they aren't really doing anything.
Yeah, if you look at the SOFA score, if you look at the paths of Ramirez and Ender, you're going to see heat maps just up and down the left and right sides, and you're not going to see that through the middle. You're absolutely correct on that as well. I just feel like, again, I go back to my comments about switcheroo with Buka and his partners. So then it's a question of, does Noonan have confidence moving the ball up through the middle to change that, and I quick shout out to FC Bitlinger. You're correct, FC, that it was Alexis De Silva, and I was wrong about Ismir Pekmik, and now I have to send that guy a bottle of Woodford or something. So, but yes, I agree that in that case, but I also wonder, I need to watch more MLS teams because I need to see other patterns. Because going up the side seems like the thing in the MLS to me. I see it a lot. Miami seems to go up through the middle because someone's there on the end. Yeah. But you arrived at an interesting point when you said Denke. And that's the point that a lot of people have made. He had one touch in the 18.
Yes, he hit. So Josh Sargent did not make the trip. He has not made his debut. He had one less touch inside the 18 than Kevin Denke, who did start this match.
Right. And honestly, I said it in my morning thoughts this morning. I spent more time buying beer and removing it from my system than we spent in the opponent's 18. Mm-hmm. And that can't happen. And for me, that's not a coaching issue. That is a MLS player issue. Do you not want to be in the opponent's box? I mean, so that's a big question for me. And so what was breaking that down? What was preventing that from happening? We got a lot of balls to Ender, and we would end up on their touch line. We ended up with a lot of corners. So we were squeezing it through, but there was nothing going into that sort of early end of the 18. And that I have not seen that. We've not seen that so far this season. So in that respect, I think you're correct. Is that if there's a Noonan system, it's not delivering the ball up through that underbody of the 18 straight on, which is where Denke lives. So that explains a lot.
100%. And I think there's this narrative brewing among some in the fan base that Denke isn't good. And I will remind everybody who maybe thinks that the man scored 16 goals last year on his own. Like he created basically all 16 of them. I think Evander linked up with him maybe twice. And one of those was him rebounding in Evander's shot. I think what it is, and to go back to my Joe Burrow analogy, right? Kevin Dinke came from a team that was the top scorer in the Belgian league, which is among a lot of people will say it's about on par with MLS. But if you watch a lot of his highlights and his film, a lot of his goals are coming through the middle. He's not going to hit it with the head. He's not a guy to bring down a long cross. It's feeding him through the middle, getting off on nice, like breakaway runs on counters and stuff like that. And much like how when the Bengals drafted Burrow, pocket passer, he's not very mobile. What did the Bengals do? They put him with a terrible O-line.
Right.
And sure, Burrow was able to.
Oh, wait.
Yeah. Sure, Burrow was able to talent them to the Super Bowl one year, but every other year he's been hurt. FC Cincinnati, same thing. Let's bring in a guy, and then let's play this wingback system. And maybe they were looking for Lucho to feed him, but Lucho's been gone for 2 years now.
Yeah.
And if you look at where he was, he gets his back at the top of the 18. So he's close. He's not in the 18. And as soon as the ball would go to him, triple team. Like he had no room to do anything. And his only outlet is pass it straight back or try one of those fancy little back heel things that never works into the box because no one else is making a run.
Right.
And so when people complain about him getting back into the midfield, I think it's just him being like, I got to get space.
Right.
If we can't get anything going through the midfield and give me space, I'm gonna have to do it on my own.
Right.
Hopefully,
and when you're missing Evander, that makes it even worse.
I think they were counting on the creativity, which we've seen from Valenzuela, to create those pockets of opportunity, and it just never materialized. And again, I think it's because of midfield confusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this isn't. I don't think this is a Dinke problem.
No, it's not. No, I'm with you there for sure. I'm not. Dinke's a great soccer player, and we need to make it work for him. Yeah.
But going back to my Noonan system, I mean, last year we brought in Brenner. A lot of the goals he scored, he had to kind of create on his own. If you go back to 2024, while Lucho was still here, we had trouble. Like we had trouble sometimes getting it to Bupenza, RIP. Like we had, trouble in 2024 getting it to anybody. And 2025, same thing. I think it's the reliance on these wingbacks.
You're right.
And if you don't have a wingback that's capable, a midfield that is capable, you're going to struggle.
Yeah. We've had a lot of right wing backs that haven't worked out. And it's taken us time to develop someone. Thank goodness we have someone now. I mean, that's the other thing I missed, and I count on it when I go and I sit my butt in those bleachers up at the south end in section 228. I want to see Ender do that video game thing he does, that cheat code moment where he's unstoppable. And I've not seen it in the past 2 games. I've not seen it where there were a couple ball plays where he went around a defender up against the touchline. He's so talented. But you know what I'm talking about. It's like when he gets the ball, there's somebody in front of him, and then there's nobody in front of him suddenly. And that is worth my season ticket dollars immediately. It's so great to watch. It's like unbelievable.
All right, let's go ahead and get to our Go Beyond exercise, Go Beyond player of the week. Clifford, let's start us off here. What do we got?
I'm going to get behind Buka. That should be like some sort of campaign slogan. That should be our new yard side. Instead of all in, it should be get behind Buka. I really think we're asking him to do a lot, but he's such a workhorse. He lost a valuable partner in Kubo leaving, I think, and he keeps getting different partners, and he keeps managing the game. Heck, I think he finished the game at right wing.
I think he did.
So at that point, I wasn't going to buy another beverage, but I did. So I just lost it. What are we doing? So I think Buka is just behind. I would have said Miles, because Miles is always solid. But I just think Buka is working real hard out there to try to manage that midfield. We get him some consistent partnership and get a consistent plan, perhaps up through the middle. I think we'll see things materialize.
Jason?
I'm going to go with Ender Echenike. Cliff, you talked about it, the video game mode. There were a couple times where he did just absolutely smoke people.
Mhm.
What is it on FIFA? The left stick to kind of kick it out in front and then sprint. He did that multiple times against Toronto. Just real shame that he couldn't get an assist on the night or even score. And when he came off at the end of the match, you could tell he was completely gassed.
Yeah.
He gave it everything.
Yeah, he did. And that's going to be interesting to see as we talk about Tigres and New England coming up. How are they going to manage his minutes? Because even though he's only 21, you can't ask a guy to go out there and run full sprint, for 180 minutes in just with such a short turnaround. So really like what I saw from him. Hopefully he can get it stringing together some assists this season, because he is out there just giving it his whole ass.
Giving it bifters, as they say in Liverpool.
Yep.
I'm going to go with another, while it did come on the end of another loss, another solid outing for Miles Robinson, the somewhat maligned designated player selection over the offseason of changing his contract and bringing him onto a designated player deal. The guy's played consistent. He's played well. Obviously, he was the best player there opening night. When you are missing Miazga, when you have a midfield that is just, I don't know, playing with their eyes closed, you need to have somebody there in the back just kind of holding the line. And if you don't have someone like him, this match could have been much worse. Obviously, another hat tip to Celentano for another quality start from him. But it's Miles Robinson for me. Another great performance.
Yeah, he did play well.
He's so professional. I think that's the one thing that I really enjoy, especially sitting at the south end of the stadium when we're on defense. There's a great comfort. And I will say also Hagelin, which year after year, I'm getting older, he's getting older. And so there's a bit of an alignment
on that goal,
there.
but otherwise, yeah.
He did, but I really think he's doing Yemen's work, and it's partly because, Miles presents the scaffolding for that. And he's the kind of guy who covers so much that you can extend someone else's career who's playing next to you. He's so good, so professional. So I agree with you there. A solid outing for sure.
I wonder if our problem is that our center backs are too nice.
Too nice, we're going with.
Because you got Miles out there.
Pretty nice guy. Yeah.
Miles seems like a nice dude. He never is booked, never gets booked. Sure. Hagelin rarely gets booked. And then you've got Teenage Hadavi and Flores kind of interchangeable there. If I've noticed, I don't think any of our center backs have been booked this season. Maybe.
This is just all I'm hearing is, where's Miazga?
I'm hearing
he
maybe not
all of that.
Miazga's attitude, or bring back Mosquera, because he was great, great at getting into people's head.
All right, those were our Go Beyond Players of the Week, brought to you by our friends at Go Beyond Exercise. Beyond Exercise is a Cincinnati physical therapy and fitness business that helps people of all ages stay active and fit. They also work with local MLS and MLS Next athletes, and they're the official physical therapy provider of the Manu Ledesma Academy UPSL team. See how they can elevate your health and fitness at gobeyondexercise.com. All right, week coming up, 2 matches, as we mentioned. Let's start with the first one, which is a Thursday night home match against Tigres in the CCC. FC Cincinnati is a whopping 0 wins, 1 tie, and 3 losses against Mexican sides in the CCC round of 16. They have been dumped out at this point every year so far, and by a Liga MX opponent each of those times, Tigres being the one that did it last year. Sorry, if you hear my dog in the background trying to move.
He agrees with you. Yeah.
She found my son left a quesadilla unattended down here, and she
Yes.
just found it, so it's go time.
So if
It's
anybody has a
longest day of
victory
that dog's
tonight,
life.
it's the dog getting a quesadilla.
Winnie finding the quesadilla. That is tonight's winner. That's what's hot. Yeah, Tigres was the culprit last year, is the foe this year. It's almost to the point where I'm like, I have no expectations of us doing anything in these two matches, not based on the fact that we're on a little bit of a purple patch here with two back-to-back losses, but like, this is our ceiling, kind of, in a way. This is proven to be our ceiling in this tournament, is you go up against a good Liga MX side and you are done. And we look to a Thursday where, listen, I think they have to like outperform like crazy. They need to have not just a win, but like a big win.
Yeah.
Pad those stats heading into that second leg, because the second leg, you just hope you have a lead and then you can just white knuckle it to the finish line. And that's where I feel like I'm at with this one. Tigres, decent season so far. They're I think 10 matches into their season, 5-1-4 record. They just beat Monterrey with our boy Orashano.
Yep.
Just over the weekend. So I don't know, guys. Where are you at on this one? For me, this is like, what's
I'm
why
going to
even
tell you
care?
how this
We're
is
just
going
going
to
to get
go.
smoked.
We're going to draw them Thursday, and we're going to get shellacked in Mexico on the next week. I really think because Tigres has a quick turnaround, they're playing Querétaro on Sunday, and here's the problem. They're 10 games in. They've played fierce games. They've won, they've lost. They're gelling. They're together. We're still finding an answer. The only way we win is if we get mad. We have to get mad. And we were just talking about how our defense is so nice, which reminds me of the time I used to coach. I used to coach soccer for a Montessori team, and the Montessori kids were so nice. They the opponents would come down and they say, "Oh, it looks like you want this more. Go ahead. Just." They were so empathetic. But the team needs to decide if they want to exorcise the demons on Thursday, and they might not. And I do players get mad anymore? That's a good question. Are they invested in it? Have they made their bank? Are they concerned about staying injury free and staying card free? But they need to get mad to win Thursday, because Tigres is probably going to toy with them. I think it's going to be a draw. It'll be a 1-1 draw, and then we will lose about 5-1 in Mexico.
Oh, jeez. They need to get mad. I guess the question, though, is who is going to be on that field to get mad? You have a Sunday evening match in New England against a not so great New England Revolution side. We'll talk about that match here in a second, but you obviously don't want to drop a third league match, so you do in a way have to still show some preference to that. But you're going against a Liga MX side who's not going to, they're not going to be that Montessori school. They're not going to be all nice to you. They're going to come in guns blazing on you. So I think it's going to be a real tough one for Noonan to just kind of do the minutes management here early on in the season with a very tough midweek match, and then a match you can't throw away on Sunday. Jason?
I would hope that they take this seriously. I think all of us in the fan base are clamoring for trophies, and the only way to do that is to take CCC seriously. And other teams in MLS are taking it seriously. We'll see how they do. I would be a little upset if Noonan rolled out a very kid-friendly lineup on Thursday. I'm hoping we see Evander start. I'm hoping we have the top choice team. I'd be more willing to sacrifice the New England lineup for this, because at the end of the day, MLS, you just got to make the playoffs. But
I think you have to put our top product on the field for this game, because you need to figure out the formula as soon as possible. I don't care what game it is. I wouldn't care who we're playing, in what league, for what competition. You need to put our top product on the field.
Yeah.
And you need to determine if you have the formula or not. And if you don't, then you can switch. It's early, right? But you need to determine that now before we get into the season and it's all gone. The downside for the losses that we've taken is that, especially if we, God forbid, lose to New England, is that they're teams we probably should have beaten early on. And that's going to cost us later in the season when the records matter.
Yeah.
All right, Clifford threw out his horrifying prediction. Jason, yours?
Oh, I really want to predict a win. What the heck? I'll say a 2-1 win.
Okay, I'm gonna go FC Cincinnati wins 1-0. It'll be ultimately meaningless because we'll go down to Mexico and things will quite literally go south on us very quickly. Let's move to Sunday here before we close things up. At New England. New England is 0-2 on the season. Their match against Houston was postponed. I don't know why it was postponed as far back as it was, but they've only played 2 matches. That's kind of the main crux of it there. Again, you have a chance where you're going up against a team that is not good, that doesn't look threatening. The question is, can you look threatening? The answer the last 2 weeks was no, we can't. Does that change this week?
I certainly hope so. Like I said, if they do need to rest folks because of the Champions Cup match, I'd much rather them do that. I'm more interested in the Champions Cup than this match, to be perfectly honest. But I think they also do need to rebound against New England. They can't be dropping games to bad competition, and you've got to get something going. Otherwise, I think the fan base might set fire to TQL Stadium.
Yeah, Bittlinger's right. There was historic winter weather that prevented their field from getting put together. Here's the thing.
Hey, that's what it was. Because I was trying to figure it out because they postponed it last week.
Oh yeah, they're adding grass to all these World Cup stadiums. So
so they did a week out. They were like, yeah, we're not playing.
Yeah, I'm looking at these teams that are cats backed into corners. I mean, how many of these can actually encounter at the outset of the season? 0-2 Toronto, 0-2 New England. Coaches are getting screamed at. Things are not great. I think it's unfair, and we're meeting them on their home turf. So these are cats backed into corners. They're going to bring their best. They have nothing to lose. They really have to put something up. But I would say neither do we. As an elite team who wants to finish in the top 4, unless we want to, be recorded in the annals of time as who said something before about the Bengals and the Reds and the Bearcats and the mediocrity that the clouds above us in this valley seem to bring. They need to get mad, and they need to decide that we want to be different, and they've got to punch through that. It's asking a lot. There's no question. It's asking a lot to go to an opponent's team, opponent's stadium, 0-2, and beat them. But that's what they're tasked with doing on Sunday for sure.
The vibes of Cincinnati sports is forever and always the Elmo in the Flames meme. So yeah, I mean that's going to happen. So let's wrap things up here. Final thoughts. I do want to throw out there that it's a bit of sad news came across the MLS community today as Edward Lowen. It was announced that his wife Ilana has passed away after a 2-year battle. It was quite public. Obviously, he had the press conference, everything about it. 2-year battle with brain cancer. Club making the announcement this morning. Obviously, most of the clubs around the league even kind of chiming in with their thoughts and prayers. And obviously, a sad one. He seems like a really great guy, a guy that's one of their bigger signings that they had. A guy coming in from with a Bundesliga pedigree, just an awesome player. So hate to see that awful news there, guys. Anything else before we wrap things up?
No, thoughts and prayers to his family. That's a terrible tragedy. And, I can't say what I want to say about cancer on this show, but,
Hmm.
you know what to do, cancer.
Agreed.
Yep.
Same thing. I think I just want to say, hey, folks, there's a question that's been going through my mind for the past 2-3 years every time I go to the game. And that is, what are you bringing to the game? And I think you need to sit. I personally should have sat with that a little bit more before going in and getting my bobblehead. As my son was with me, my friend was with me. I was off the chain on, on Sunday night. And it's, I don't know what you're dealing with. For me, there's issues of employment and money and things like that. But there's lots of darkness all around us. And everybody's dealing with their own version of pain, their own challenges. But we need to remember, I think, this is entertainment.
Yep.
And I kind of forgot that Sunday night, to be honest. And it takes a little bit of self-awareness, some emotional intelligence. But I have to say also, there could be darker futures other than soccer. There's lots of bright future for this team. I just think it's a bunch of individuals right now. Noonan's got to get them to come together. But be aware of what you're bringing to the game.
No, I agree. And it's even to kind of go back to Edward Lowen. I remember he even said that he was, when the diagnosis first came about his wife, he was looking forward so much to actually getting on the pitch where he could kind of just have his solace there of just kind of being able to focus on something else. And I think for all of us, there's always something going on, either just right in our own house and our own family, or just kind of
actually I'm gonna get killed if I don't say something. My wife is actually in Peru commemorating the death of her mother a year ago, and she's watching this, so that's another example of and without her in the house, I barely know my name. So I'm just amazed I was able to get on this broadcast with you guys and actually put cogent arguments together and like sentences.
Did she have to plan out a bunch of already pre-made meals for you and leave them in the fridge, labeling which day to eat them on?
Mostly the cats, the survival of the cats, and make sure the blinds are open so the cats don't get depressed and kill themselves. So there's a lot of that, but I have to take care of my son on my own. So shout out to my wife and all that. But I agree. There's a lot going around, lots of things, lots of challenges. So
even on a frustrating 1-0 toothless loss, man, it's still the game we love, and we got to sit there and enjoy it for 90 minutes. So do that. All right, folks, that'll do it for us. Obviously, we will have 2 matches to look forward to talking about next week, and another 2 to get ready for. We will see you next Monday right here. That's it for us tonight. If you want to contact
that QR
us,
code up in the screen. What is that thing?
Yeah, you can hit the QR code. That'll take you, I think, to our website or some way to contact us. Or contact us. feedback@CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. That'll also
bunch of emails. Cliff sucks.
All righty, folks. Good night.
Good night, guys. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.